What's up, y'all?
Friends?
Welcome to another Car Conversations. Where it's just the down-to-earth, natural, like we're having a conversation if we were driving. Because, you know, when you're driving in the car, sometimes you have, like, the best conversations. You're just chatting about whatever random thing. So that's why we like this, because it's almost like we invite you into the back seat.
You're right there. We can see you.
And we can chat with you.
Okay, so what are we chatting about today?
Qualities that we each looked for in a Christian guy, and qualities you can look for in a Christian guy too. I think it's so interesting to know, like, what other people were looking for.
Oh, yeah.
Or are looking for. Obviously, we're both married, so we had some qualities, things we were looking for.
We must have found some of them in our husbands because we married them. So,
but
things that they were looking for in us, they must have found.
Don't you feel like when you're single or when you're in the dating days, like, it's so, like, it can be hard to know what should I look for? What are priorities? What are qualities? What are qualities that other girls looked for in a guy? Like, you know, just kind of bouncing those ideas around because you're like, oh, maybe is this important? Is this not? I don't really know. You know?
Differentiating between like preferences and priorities. Like that was my biggest thing when I was younger. Things that I was like, oh, he's got to have the same play guitar and he's got to have like the perfect brown hair, like all these things. And then you get older and you're like, okay, those things would be nice, but they're not top of the priority list. So specifically, we're talking about qualities that we looked for when we were single for a Christian guy to basically decide, okay, does he have the qualities that we would want to marry, someone that we would want to spend the rest of our lives with as a Christian guy, as a Christian girl. And so that's
totally. And it's not as easy and cut and dry as that. Obviously, it's like you want to be attracted, you want all those things, which we've been talking about over at girldefined.com earlier this week. So go check out the most recent posts over there. But I think the title of this video is really important. Qualities we each looked for in a Christian guy. That was the foundation for both of us. We are Christians, and so we were looking to marry someone who shared that belief and shared that worldview, because that's the foundation of how you view everything. And so I know for me that was like number one on the list. I'm assuming.
Yeah, for me too. You're assuming.
I'm assuming.
Nope, I didn't care about that. No, and I think there's a good point to be made there that and this is actually something that I think a lot of young women, at least young women I've talked to, like, does he have to be a Christian? Is it really that important? And like Bethany said, I think it is. We see in scripture, like, having that like-minded faith, that like-minded understanding of the gospel of salvation. If that's what you believe, you want to marry someone who has that same belief so that you're both centered on Christ, that he is the center of the relationship. You're both going in the same direction. The gospel is your motivation. You are unified in decisions about church and faith and family. I mean, it affects everything. Yeah. So if you're not unified there, it can be so hard and just cause a lot of unnecessary challenges that wouldn't have happened if you had married someone that had that same Christian belief. So I think that is super foundational and that it's genuine, right? Not just Christian in name only, which any of us can fall into, but a genuine faith.
And I think that's the next step. As you get to there, you're like, okay, Christian, that's important. But then, you know, a lot of us can call ourselves Christians, but like, I know even there have been times for me where it's like, I'm kind of dragging, I'm not doing so well. And so it's like, okay, do we share the same passion for Christ? Do we share the same like vision of wanting to live for him and looking for a man that shares those similar passions and visions? I know for me, something that was really important that I was looking for in a Christian guy was just that he genuinely had a desire to follow God for himself. So not like, okay, I'm a Christian, I kind of check this off the box, I check these things off the box, but I really wanted to know, does he want to follow God? Does he want to serve God? Does he love God for himself? Not just because he grew up in a Christian family, not just because he attends a Christian church or he's a part of a small group, but like he genuinely desires that. And that takes time to get to know someone like that. But that heart with like motive of really desiring a personal relationship with God, that was like really high up on the list.
Yeah, and I think some girls might ask, well, how do you know? Like, okay, if he's going to church and he's doing all these things, how do you know? I think one of the things that was really important for us was kind of looking, as we were getting to know different guys back in our single days, like, what does he value? What does he talk about? Where does he put his time? Who is he behind the scenes when no one else is looking? Who does his family say he is? His close friends? Like, who is he on social media versus real life? And I think as you look into those things, you start to realize, okay, is he who he says he is? He looks the Christian part, but really behind the scenes, and his actions, his words, what he values, where he puts his time, does it actually line up with that? And so just a practical way that you can kind of get to know, because like any of us can fall into that trap of going through the motions, but it not really being genuine. Yeah. So those are like the deeply foundational spiritual things.
What were some like other things
like
for you?
Next level up? Okay, this is hilarious because you just wrote a blog post about how you married someone shorter. I remember when I was younger, that was like a big no. Like, and this was a preference thing, but for me it was a priority at the time, and I was like, he has to be taller. If he's not taller, it'll be like my worst nightmare ever. And I just felt like God was for
You're
sure.
tall, you're really tall.
I'm 6'1", and so I was like, oh, God's for sure gonna want to play a joke, and like I'm gonna marry someone that's like 4 feet tall. Because you just, you know, when you think like this is so hard, you feel like God's going to bring that trial in your life to speak, to sanctify you. And so I had to really grow in that and really grow from, okay, what is a priority versus a preference? And God brought me to a place where I was willing to marry a guy that had some foundational qualities, and whether he was shorter or taller. But one of those things for me was I really wanted to marry a guy that had gumption. We call it like guts and gumption and leadership. And like he kind of knew where he was going in life, and he wasn't just floundering and like aimless, but kind of had some vision. And I'm a pretty strong personality.
We don't know that. Nobody can tell.
And I just knew, I was like, Lord, I need someone who's a strong leader, who can, you know, sometimes just be like, hey babe, and like kind of help me out. And then who can also offer great direction in marriage and family life, just as a couple, and someone I can really get behind and be like, yes, I can follow this guy.
Yeah, something for me that I was really praying for and hoping for was, I guess, I don't know, it's weird, it's like I am married now, so was a man who was very like patient and a peacemaker and would seek to like unify rather than tear apart, because it's amazing how like one person who wants to tear apart or get easily offended, that can be really detrimental to so many relationships, and I've seen that before. And so I was like, you know, I really want to marry a Christian guy who desires to have peaceful relationships, who wants to work on relationships, who wants to, you know, work on differences between families and pull us together rather than pull apart.
Huge.
Or not to be like, oh yeah, that person's so annoying, yeah, get them out of your life, you know, but to be more like, hey, how can we think about this differently, and to really bring that mindset. And that's been super helpful because Dave is totally that way. So that's something that was really important to me.
Yeah, I think we both talked about, we always wanted to marry someone who we could be best friends with. So someone that you can just, on a basic level, you can have so much fun with. You feel like, I love spending time with this person, and we have so many things in common, and I can just see myself spending the rest of my life with them. Like, that's after those other foundational things. But I think being really, really good friends, because life is hard, and there are ups and downs, and if you don't even have that basic friendship, like if you just jump from romance to infatuation and like, I'm in love, but you don't really know if you have that solid friendship, I think that's a really important thing, and something that we both found in our now husbands, and we're still super great friends with them.
Which is the best. Okay, we want to hear from you though. What are some qualities that you are looking for in a godly Christian guy? And to help you kind of navigate the whole romantic relationship path, we actually have a free questionnaire, I guess, a free guide that we want to give you. So if you click the link below, you'll see a free guide to 136 questions to ask in a romantic relationship. And this is to help you to see like, okay, are we on the same page? Do we value the same things? Is he more than just like a Christian in name only? Am I more than a Christian in name only? It really helps you to dig deeper. So you can go through it on your own, but I definitely recommend using it in a relationship. Dave and I went through it and it was super helpful, and we want to give that to you for free.
Yeah, so click the link below.